You're listening to The Broken Meeple Show, a podcast that speaks passionately about board games for the benefit of those who play them. My name's Luke Hector, best known for the Broken Meeple YouTube channel, and I'm an everyday gamer just like you. And I'll be talking about reviews, top 10s, and just about anything that connects me to board games. As long as I have a tea or coffee in hand, that is. So grab a cup, relax, and enjoy. And remember, it's only a game. Hi everyone, welcome to the last podcast episode for the year. I gotta admit, every time I listen to that intro, I get more and more cringy by it. I don't know, does that intro need to change? It'd be handy if I could just keep it the same because of its cringiness, you know, because it's so cheesy. Yeah, because it was deliberately put that way. Because I listened to a bunch of like other podcasts, you know, not gaming related ones, and sometimes you get the intro where somebody basically says like, it's like, we are here to listen to this particular thing going on. Ooh la la. It's a bit like having a self-meditation tape where you get those cringy people telling you, now breathe and imagine that you're on a cloud made of swirling penguins. I don't know, you know, you get some weird stuff like that, but I don't know, I'd be interested. If I've got to change it though, that's a lot of work, so we'll see, but I don't know, that's a small thing. So yes, the last one of the year. I'm not doing any more podcasts for 2025. Next one after this will probably be second weekend of January. I am going to HandyCon in January, so I don't want it to line up with that. So I'll probably do the first podcast the week before HandyCon. Then that means at HandyCon I don't have to do a podcast. Then the week after, it will happen anyway. So that will probably be the best timing-wise. In terms of what I'm going to do on this episode, well, I wasn't entirely sure at first because I didn't want to do anything like, you know, Christmas focused, because what's the point? It's like there isn't really anything you can do on that front. People sort of go, oh, here's my top 10 games for Christmas, and it's like, how do you determine what a game is for Christmas? I mean, okay, you could say it's good with the family, in which case it's a family game. It's not a Christmas game. And then they go, all right, well, what about all the Christmas-themed games? Firstly, there aren't that many Christmas-themed games out there. And secondly, most of them aren't that good. So what is the point? So the next thing you can do is, okay, something that would suit the feel of Christmas, which basically means that it got snow on the cover. So great. All right, we'll put Nordic countries for Ticket to Ride on the list. You know, it's like, whatever. I don't bother with that. And now, so what I thought I might do this episode is, after going through some details about how the last year went and sort of plans for next year, I'm just going to go back and look at, for the last time, because I don't want to do these lists ever again, the anticipated games I was looking at at the start of this year. So at the start of this year, I did a podcast episode where I said, no longer doing top 10 anticipated games lists, because I just think they're too whiffly-waffly. You never know any details about the game coming out, and given what I'm about to say on this episode, as I had a look back through it, you get a lot of times where it's meant to come out in one year and then it still doesn't come out that year. So what's the point? It just doesn't seem like a worthwhile list. I don't watch anticipated games videos on other people's channels. I don't find them interesting, and I don't think as consumers you find them that interesting either, frankly. So this will be the last time I ever comment on it. I did one for 2024 on a podcast. I'm going to look back on that, and then that's it. Not doing top 10 anticipated games of 2025. It ain't happening, all right? Games will just come out when they come out, and we'll talk about it then. It's just much better that way. As for the channel, generally for the... Well, let's talk about what I'm thinking of next year. There's not a huge amount that's going to change for next year. Obviously, the intro on the videos will have a different montage of games. That's how I tend to distinguish between the years. You'll notice that the games featured on the montage, the photo montage, change. That'll happen again for videos in 2026. Intro musics will stay the same. Types of videos will stay the same. So top 10s and, you know, reviews and things like that. I just don't have the facility or the time to work out playthroughs. Digital playthroughs, I don't think I'm going to bother with those anymore, because they just don't bring in the views. You know, every time I do one, it barely gets a few hundred views, and it just doesn't seem worth it. And they have recording issues. You know, sometimes the audio's way too loud or way too soft, and it's just too much hassle. What I would prefer to do is to bring in some of those, bring back some more live streams, because I really haven't done a lot of live streams this year, you know, and a lot of people haven't really bothered with live streams. Maybe it's just a dying trend. I'd be interested to know your thoughts on that, but, you know, I would like to do some live streams, not necessarily like collaboration with other people. I mean, if that happens, that happens. That's pretty cool. But I'm thinking more live streams for maybe some top 10s so I can do more top 10s, because I must admit I haven't done a lot of top 10s this year, but mainly also so I can do some weird top 10 lists. So things like best Ark Nova maps, best spirits in Spirit Island, that kind of thing. Ones that are purely my opinion and not based on, oh, this is definitively the best in the list. It's like, nah, these are the 10 Ark Nova maps that I really like to play. And those ones you can use the tier maker thing. And those could be live streamed, because it could just be a fun little sofa discussion with people. And if you want to watch it, you watch it. That, I think I'd be able to factor in more. So that could replace stuff like digital playthroughs and things like that. But other than that, reviews will be the same with a little format change. I want to keep the way that the big reviews are done. So you have the intro, overview, pros, cons, solo mode if there is one, review, summary, that kind of thing. I don't care if they take a long time, because frankly I've given up on trying to make videos as short as possible, because at the end of the day I want to get as much detail across in the video, because I'm sick and tired of seeing everybody, a lot of people just try and squeeze it into like 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, and then you watch the review and it's just like, we played this game, it's nice. Yeah, I really feel like I'm making good decisions in this game. Yeah, 9 out of 10. It's like, no, that's not what I want from a review. So I don't care about the length anymore. I'm done with worrying so much on that. But there is one thing that does irk me a little bit. The speed review thing. It's a bit difficult to call something a speed review when it's over 20 minutes. It's not really speed at that point. Really, what I was really calling them speed reviews for was so that I could essentially... what's the phrase? I could dial back the amount of editing required. So I didn't put in so many clips. They were more quick and easy, not trying to do too much format change, no like instrumental intermissions and stuff like that. So making it so that they're quick to get out. Well, again, it's difficult to determine what is a speed review, because it's misleading. When somebody sees a review, it's 12 minutes long. It's like, okay, that's a speed review. When I put out something that's 22 minutes long, it's still not really long enough to do the full-on detailed breakdown, but it's also too long to really call it a speed review. So what I'm going to do now is all reviews will just be review. Right, I'm not putting speed in front of anything. They're all just going to be review, and I will determine whether I'm going to put a bunch of clips in it, whether I'm just going to make it quick and easy. That will depend entirely on the game and whether the clips even warrant inclusion. I'm getting a lot better at putting those in at speed, so they're not taking me as long to edit as before. But, if a game like, for example, I did one on Take Time, Take Time and Walking in Osaka, they're due to come out this week. Well, there's not really a lot of clips you can really include for those. So those are going to be very speedy reviews that I did. But then I did one for Covenant. Covenant was not a full-on breakdown review, but it was still too long to really be a speed review, but there were clips I could put in that one. So it's not going to be based on that anymore. So it's just going to be review, game review. Nice single thing. The only time I will change the heading is if it is going to be one of those big reviews, because those I know in advance whether they're going to be a big review. Like, for example, I got to do Recall at some point, probably next year, and Recall, it's not a review copy, but you can't really talk about Recall as a speed, like at speed. You kind of have to do it as a full breakdown, and that will probably be quite a long video because I need to compare it to Revive and that. So what I'll do is I'll basically put the word big in the review. I'll put like a sticker icon with like explosion with big in the title. So it says like, Recall, title, board game big review, or big board game review, something with the emphasis of big or mega or epic, so that it's going to be one of those lengthy reviews if it's like that. And then everything else will just be generic review. And I think that's a lot easier. It's a lot easier for me to plan ahead for something that's going to be long than it is for me to plan ahead and try and get something short. So that will be the slight tweak to the headings, but it's not really going to change the format that much. Top 10s will be the same. I'm going to do the top 50 update. I'll hope to try and do that around February time. So that will be a Timball top 50 update. I'll try to minimize how many videos it is. Like, I'll try to make it 5 videos max. If I can do it in 3, maybe do a 20, 20, and 10, that might actually be handy. But as I say, will be a top 50 update. Anything else really? Other than that, I'm not really going to change a huge amount about the show, but I guess I need to get out of this habit of trying to think, oh, I could try this thing, or I could try this thing, or I could try this thing. And then I try it once or twice and then find it either doesn't work or it's too much time taken up, which I can't afford. I have a very busy life. So it's kind of getting to that point where I need to stop doing that, just trying to throw darts at a wall and see what sticks, and just stick to the format that seems to be working. Because at the end of the day, it's about the integrity behind the viewing stuff I do, the honesty and all that, as opposed to how many different things can I title a video. So it's probably better to do it that way. But the tier maker stuff, I think, would be pretty cool. So I'll try and see if I can make that a regular thing. That would be pretty sweet. We'll see. Anything else? Top 10 of 2025. I'm not doing it before Christmas. I'm sorry, I just can't. It's impossible. There's too many games to get played. I mean, I've got Recall, the Voynich puzzle, and Coming of Age still on the table over there. I played Recall, so Recall has had some plays, but I need to play it solo now. And I haven't even managed to even learn the rules to Voynich Puzzle and Coming of Age yet. I was planning to do them over the Christmas break. And Miskatonic Tales is literally on my table being played as we speak. I just can't get them all done. It's too many to do by myself with no one else to share the workload of editing and videos and that. So basically what I'm going to do for the first time is that I'm just going to delay my top 10 of the year to January. Because frankly, does it really matter? Do you need to know what my top 10 of the year are before Christmas? It's not like you're going to rush out and buy them especially if most of them you can't even get yet. So I'm just going to wait till on the basis that I'm not doing a top 10 of anticipated of 2026. I'm just going to, do the top 10 of 25 in January. It won't be late January. It'll be relatively early in January, mid-January at the very latest, certainly pre-HandyCon. But I need the Christmas break to play and give the beans to all these other games that I've got over there. And there's not many left. I have done a pretty good job going through them, but I just can't give them a fair grounding as a rush before Christmas, and it's just not worth it. So there's going to be some more reviews. I mean, reviews this week are going to include, let's see if I open the thing like that. So what have we had review wise? We've had Children of the Colossi, that one aired, not doing too well. We've had the Data Era, Underwater Cities. We've had Limit, Star Wars Unlimited, Covenant, 12 Rivers, and Walking in Osaka and Take Time. I'm gonna do Take Time tomorrow and Walking in Osaka on Wednesday. So you're gonna get 3 days in a row of content. So that'd be pretty sweet. As for what comes out after that, Echoes of Time, maybe? That could be something next. Or actually, to be fair, Miskatonic Tales should probably be my next one, because I should be done with that pretty soon. So, yeah, there's still going to be a few more games I will review pre-Christmas or have airing over the Christmas break. But I need to have a break for Christmas at some point. So there will be a point where I cut off for Christmas. I'm certainly not going to do any video recording between Christmas Eve and probably New Year's Eve. I don't know, maybe there's a day when I could come back and do that. But certainly for a good 6-7 days, I'm not doing any recording, or I'm taking a break. So because it has been quite a long few months. So that's the deal. I will wait till early January and we'll do a fair top 10 2025 then. All right. There'll be other people who have already put out top 10s of 25 and people who are going to this week, I'm sure. So go watch them. I don't see the necessity to get it out within the actual calendar year, because that's time. I mean, it's not helped by Essen, because a lot of games come out for Essen, which means that you only have a 2-month window, if that, to play the games that come out at Essen. It's a lot to do. So why try and constrain yourself like that? That's my kind of thought process. So yeah, that's kind of things to look forward to for next year. I haven't really said what was going on in my life. I mean, I've already kind of, to be honest, not a lot. I handed in my notice as before. I'm working through the notice period. I start a new job in February. I'll go visit my my elder brother before then, so that'll be quite sweet. January's just working out more of the notice periods. That's fine. Obviously, I'm going to go to HandyCon 19, I think it is, whichever one it is, so that's going to be fun. I look forward to seeing a bunch of you there. Anything else, really? I got 2 Christmas do's to go to this week. I've got a bottomless brunch on Saturday. Health is, for the most part, fine. So, bashed my knee a little bit on the Gigason table a few weeks back, and it's still not the best at bending, but otherwise fine. So, and just been to London to visit friends. We played a big epic game of Frostpunk. That was pretty enjoyable. London is London. there's some nice stuff. I love the food and drink in London, but London is a city I don't particularly like to visit on a regular basis. It's too chaotic, it's too crowded, it's too expensive, and I just rather not. But that's just me. I know some people adore London like no tomorrow. So yeah, that's basically the case. I've got a bunch of videos out. By all means, go check them, get that engagement up, leave your comments, and thank you to some people that have donated some absolutely amazing what do they call them, super thanks donations to the channel. Thank you so much for those. Merry Christmas to you, particularly on those. They all go to help the channel run, so yeah, that is a fantastic thing to see. But yeah, there's stuff for you to watch, there's stuff coming out, but that's basically what I'm going to be doing for the next, certainly for the next couple of months in terms of the channel. Okay, so in terms of the year in general, I mean, the year's been okay. I don't think it's been particularly great on the gaming front, but it's different to last year because the last few years there's usually been like a couple of belters, and then, or sorry, there's been like not a lot at all. You know, like there may be a couple of belters and then there's a lot of very meh games. This year I feel like there's some decent games, but very few belters. It was more like it's a consistent, above average, good level of games, but not many that surpass it and go, these are amazing, you should play these at all costs. But then also not too many terrible ones either. So I suppose this year was probably a bit more consistent compared to last year, but still not exactly the best year ever. So doing the top 10 is going to be interesting, unless I can get some more belters to shout about. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of rinse repeat in the games I've seen this year. Like, oh yeah, we've seen this kind of thing before. It stands on its own merits, but why get this when you've already got the original one? There's stuff like that that's happened. And there's far too many games that are coming out either at ridiculous prices, Iridia, and or games that just aren't coming out. I mean, they say, oh yeah, we're going to release this in 2025. Nope, sorry, we're releasing it in 2026. What's the point in that then? But then there's also a lot of games which annoyingly came out at Essen, but only Essen. So there's certain games that I will not be able to play before I do my top 10 to 25 list. Deckers is a good example. Deckers came out at Essen, didn't get a chance to get into a table to demo it because it literally was just wait and see if you could get in a slot, which is very difficult to do for a booth that's right by the front entrance. So I couldn't get a chance to play Deckers. And it's not on UK retail, or US retail even, I don't think, until quarter next year. So can't play it. And a lot of games were like that. It was like, oh yeah, we've released it at Essen, but you're not going to see it at retail for God knows how many months later. And it's like, well, is it technically a 2025 game at that point? And especially if you only release it at a convention, which not everybody can go to, is there a point that we should be talking about these games? If you haven't fully released them yet, it's kind of a little bit weird. But yeah, so not the year in general has just kind of been as per other ones, really. Otherwise, I mean, the same conventions have always been fun. HandyCon's been fun this year. GridCon was another success with Paul Grogan. The Essen was a good time. I helped out Drander Games this time and at the UK Games Expo, so there could be a chat. I mean, I do like to I usually like to mix up who I help out at conventions, so that I'm not tied to one specifically, or so I can demo games that I really, really like elsewhere. But I do get on with the Drander Games team, and they are UK based, so it is good in many ways. But yeah, I helped them out twice this year round. Perhaps I'll demo for them in the future again. So there's certainly that. That's been good fun to do. I think it's definitely going to be a case that I help out somebody at a convention for Expo and Essen, because it's a lot of money to spend on these conventions. They are getting stupidly expensive, ridiculously expensive. So helping out on the booth cuts down some of the time, yes, but it also does make up a lot of the cost. So it's definitely worth doing, in my opinion. The other conventions, I'm trying to think. Where else have I been? Oh, no, one I do remember. I think I did Manicon. I went to Manicon this year, and after a resurgence, because I didn't go to it for a while. It was at Leicester Uni. It was really hot. Heat waves really didn't do any favors. It was a bit tight spaced. Not my favorite, and the dorms were sucked. Absolutely, the accommodation sucked. Well, Manicon is now at a new location. Northampton, I think, is the location. I believe Northampton Uni. It's above Milton Keynes, and that one was actually pretty sweet. The location was good. The drinks and food were very well priced. a few little niggles that need ironing out, but for the first time at a new venue and under supposedly mostly new management, I thought it was a pretty sweet convention, and I actually want to go again next year, July. So I should hopefully go to the next Manicon. What I probably will do though is rather than stay in one of the dormitories, given that honestly, I think students should expect better of their dormitories. It was like sitting in a rotisserie. I think I'm probably just going to stay at a nearby B&B and hotel and drive into the site each day, because that I think would just be a much. I mean, it was cheap being in those dorms, but I want to have a good night's sleep as well. So I probably will just do that for the next Manicon. It's usually better to do that. A little drive in the morning, a little drive at night is a small price to pay for convenience and peace. So, it should be good. But yeah, Manicon was a good convention. I think it was run pretty well. The venue's good. Games played were good. I'll be attending this next one. Can I attend any extras? I don't know. I mean, time off is a problem. Baycon, I'd like to go to Baycon more often, but it's a lot of days to take off, and you can't stay in a cheap hotel anywhere in Devon around that area, so it becomes a very expensive venue to do, convention to do in general. Other than that, though, I think that's pretty much all the conventions I go to. Shake, Battle and Roll. Okay, the local Southampton one. Yeah, so I'll definitely go to those two as well. So, yeah, there's stuff on the horizon, and stuff I've been to has been fun. But yeah, 2025 kind of has gone on by. It's been a nice year, for seeing people and for conventions, not as much for great games. I did reach the 25,000 milestone, I think, at the start of the year, so for subscribers, so that was pretty cool. Sadly, we didn't get to 30 by the end of this year, but I would like to think we can hit the 30,000 mark during 2026, so by all means, hopefully you guys can help me out on that front. And so, yeah, onwards and upwards. Anyway, let's try and get on with the point of this episode, because I don't want this one to go on too long. Nice bit of coffee. So what I've decided to do is I'm essentially going to look at the old list that I did a while back. So I'm not going to put the sound on this one because it will just get problematic. So let's turn the sound off. Yeah, let's mute this one. And this was the podcast episode that I did a while back. Hopefully it will keep showing on the screen. It's weird. When I look at it on StreamYard, the video thing appears as like a white blank sheet, but I'm assuming it appears fine for everybody else. I assume that's just a graphical issue. But yeah, we're going to go with what it is. So I'm just going to go back through this video and look at the games that I was talking about on there and see what my thoughts have been. Did I play them? Did I like them? Did I review them? Have I not played them? Are they even released? And basically this will be the last time I comment on such a thing because, as I say, no more anticipated lists. So we got Lord of the Rings, Fate of the Fellowship. So Fate of the Fellowship I have reviewed and I like it, but not enough to want to keep the game. It was a decent game, a decent effort, but I suppose the problems that I had with it were that it was a cluttered board and a half. I mean, this one was ridiculous. You had Meeples trying to balance on the tiniest of spots with about 8 of these Nazgul miniatures surrounding you and all these other tokens and stuff, and little warrior Meeples and your characters. It became such a cluttered mess. It obviously pigeonholes you into a particular thing that you have to do at the end. You have to do the Mordor dropping in the rain, and there's no way to vary up the objective. It is what it is. The variety of the other objectives was pretty cool, though there was a fair bit of rinse repeat. And there are times where the game could just hose you pandemic-y style regardless, particularly in the solo mode. It had its problems, but overall I thought it was a decent effort. It was enough for me to recommend it as a good game, but not more than that. And even then, I didn't decide to keep my copy of this game, but if somebody wanted to play it, I'd gladly step in and play it because I'd get my enjoyment out of it, but just not enough to play it, regularly, like all in all. So, yeah, this one was, fine. It did a decent job, but it's another pandemic-y style game with another theme. Hopefully we can stop seeing these sort of pandemic-y style games. I think it's about time we moved on, really. Okay, what else have we got? I got to drag the slider and see what reveals itself. That's about it. Nope, still Fate of the Fellowship. Finspan. Was Finspan a 2025 list? I mean, this might be my honourable mentions that I was doing to say, like, I've already played these games, therefore I can't talk about them. But let's have a look. Finspan was Yeah, that was indeed a 2025 game. So, all right, well, let's talk about it. So, Finspan, the third in the trilogy for the Span games. You got Wingspan and Wormspan. Now you got Finspan. And I still, to this day, hold that Wingspan is the best one. Start with the original, add in a couple of expansions, particularly Oceania, and Wingspan is easily the best of this lot. Wormspan was a bit of a letdown. It just adds in some unnecessary convoluted rules and, steps to do to achieve the exact same outcome as you did in Wingspan. So it's like, well, why don't I just go for the more elegant version that's about cool birds and not fictional random dragons? The game actually put in a reference book to give you lore on the dragons in the game. They're all made up dragons. So what is the friggin' point? I just didn't really get into Wormspan as much. Finspan was okay. It was meant to be the lightest of the three. I still think it's got a little bit going on in certain respects, and certainly one or two of the rules with the way the fish work is a little bit convoluted, but overall, Finspan was fine, but it just felt like more of the same, and I would rather play Wingspan again. There's not many different ways to alter your path to victory in this. For the most part, you are hatching a bucket load of these eggs and getting a ton of fish on the table, and there's not much else to it. The table space hog this demanded, but these column boards was ridiculous. The game took forever playing it with 4 or 5 players. This was meant to be a more simpler, more streamlined, more quicker game, and it just didn't achieve those. It was fine. I mean, mechanically it was fine, and it was a little bit of fun, but overall, it didn't really make itself that much more simpler or that much more streamlined than Wingspan. So again, why not just play Wingspan? It was okay, but nah. Some people were like, oh yeah, this is my preferred of the three. I don't honestly get that. I can't understand why you didn't like Wingspan and yet somehow grew to Finspan. It's still a span game. They're still predominantly the same thing, but the tweaks to this system, I think they made it worse. Made it worse overall. So it was okay. It wasn't a bad game. I certainly prefer it to Wormspan, definitely. But yeah, it was just like, whatever. Okay, what else we got here? So are we back on the finish screen? Okay, let's have a look. So let's look. Next one we got. Well, that was an expansion. So Earth Abundance expansion. All right, so this was the expansion to Earth, which I do love Earth. I mean, Earth is still like possibly a top 10 game for me. I do really enjoy that one. But Abundance was the first expansion. I look forward to getting the next expansion this year. That'll be pretty sweet with the animals. This expansion was a good one. I don't think it was amazing, though, because it did have 1 or 2 issues. I mean, on the plus side, it gave you the seeds. The seeds were a great idea because those seeds allowed you to get cool bonuses, search for specific cards you needed, and if you built up an income of seeds, you could do quite a lot with them. So that was great. I really liked that aspect of the game. But the cubes, the sprout cube system, it did mean that sprout cubes were a little bit too easy to get hold of because you could just overflow with them, and then abilities in this game just gave you a ton of them. So it didn't really feel like that big a deal if you had a lot of sprout cubes because you could just get them really easily. The other thing is that this one also sometimes was a bit problematic to teach new players because these abilities with the iconography with different players, like this is what your neighbor is based on, all that lot, could get a little bit confusing to read from an iconography standpoint. It would delay the game if somebody, the slowest player there, has to sort of look at all the other displays and realize, oh, hang on, which do I do? And some of these require you to check what the players have. So what's this one here? So +1 cube for, I think, your neighboring player's flora with 6 or more sprout limits on it, or something like that. That means that each time you activate this ability, you have to look at your 2 neighbors to work out which one of them has the most of that particular type of thing. You've got to do that every time this ability triggers. It does slow down the game a bit or become a little bit much. The cacao tree here, I've got to check how many events both my neighbors have played, and you're constantly asking these questions around the board, and it does make it a bit more of a fiddly thing. Now, I will gladly play it with this expansion with people who know what they're doing. Like friends of mine, we play it with this expansion just fine. Oh, ain't that pretty? But the little pretty flower arrangement. But, and I do like it overall, but there's a lot of these abilities that maybe just grind the game a little bit. I'm hoping the new animal expansion will be a bit more of a streamlined inclusion. But it's still a fun expansion. It just had one or two caveats in there. So Earth still remains for me a fantastic game. All right, that's next. Oh God, Stellaris Infinite Legacy. Will you just goddamn well hurry up and finish this game? Crying out loud, Academy Games. You're supposed to have the pedigree to, make this game work. I'm really banking a lot on you guys to make this work, but you're stretching my patience now. Now, as far as I can tell from the recent updates, they're looking at a Q1, maximum Q2, 2026 release. Please, for the love that is all that is holy, release it within that time frame, because I think if you delay it any further past that, even my patience is going to wane. I like Stellaris, the actual game. I'm looking forward to this. I'm hoping that this will be good because Academy Games do have a good pedigree behind them. But you're taking a long time. I hope the reason you're taking a long time is because you are really making a honed, really cool, robust system, okay? If I notice that you've got rulebook errors, if I notice that everything's convoluted, if I notice like problems and errators and errors and God knows what else, and grindy gears in this game after how long it's taken, I'm going to be ticked off and you wouldn't believe. So please hurry up and get this finished, all right? Finish. All right, so what do we got here? Oh, is this the one I mentioned a minute ago? Moving. Yeah, this one's the Iridia where people trend. Here we go. Yeah, Iridia, the path we dare tread. Still not played it. I mean, for crying out loud. Firstly, for ages you couldn't even get the game. It was basically just a Kickstarter delivery and that was it. But then when it eventually did release into retail, and I mean a few copies released, not loads, but a few copies released into retail, this game demanded along the realms of £225 to £250 retail price. What the ever flying whoop? It's like, seriously, I'm not paying that much for your retail priced game. I don't care if there's a few people who think that this is the holy grail of board games, okay? I mean, it looks nice. That's about it. There's a lot of games that look nice. That's not enough for me to get excited about wanting to jump into another sort of campaign game just because it's got some funky looking components, all right? Yes, it'll mean it looks good. So does that mean it's a good game to play? I honestly don't know. It could be great, but for £250, I should bloody well hope it's great because it costs an arm and a leg. This is too much money to charge for a board game. So, I've played Tainted Grails 1 and 2. I didn't spend £250 on those combined. So, I mean, well, I might have expanded some with some miniatures, but then I regret doing that. So, so maybe adding on that, maybe the two of them combined might have come to all of that. But nah, I think they would have been still just short. So I didn't spend that much on Tainted Grail of all games. And this one demands $250, and it's like, it'd be cool to try it, but I've no incentive to go out and spend that kind of money on a single game, because even the game would have to blow my mind. It would have to absolutely cave my skull in and blow my mind with some major TNT before I declare that this is a game that I recommend people go out and buy, because £250 is a lot of money for a board game. It's like, and don't give me none of this stuff about, it's relative to the person. No, £250 is a lot of money, full stop. Okay. I don't even pay £100 a month for my electricity and gas, all right, to live in my current house, okay? So £250 is 2.5 months worth of electric and gas for me. Here, that is a decent amount of money to spend on a box of cardboard bits, okay? And that's on a gamble that the game's any good. If I don't enjoy it, that's a waste of money right there. So it'd be cool to try it, but someone's going to have to show me it. They'd have to invite me around their house and we play it. I've no intention to spend that kind of money on a game like this. If I got given a review copy, that'd be a different story. But no, this one, not happening. I'm not paying that kind of money. All right. Okay. Where do we stand next? Let's see. This is all Iridia. Iridia. So, Speakeasy. Everybody has said to me, Luke, what do you think of Speakeasy? What do you think of Speakeasy? I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to play it. The problem is again, this doesn't have a retail release, and this is a thing. I don't kickstart a lot of stuff anymore, okay? I mean, I have kickstarted the replacement edition of This War of Mine, But then I already like this war of mine. I backed Agricola, the new version, because I want to give Agricola another chance. I know the game is fine, I just have some issues with it, but the new version does look gorgeous and I do want to give it another fair shot. And it wasn't that expensive for just the deluxe edition without any add-ons. It was actually relatively cost efficient. Plus, GameFound. A lot of these ones are on GameFound now, and GameFound has a fantastic stretch pay system. So both of those games may have cost me, £100+ in order to kickstart, maybe 100 to 150 quid. But the thing is that you can stretch the money out. So it's like £18 a month for a few months. At that point, I barely even notice I'm paying the money, for £18 a month. But it's different to paying out the full wad in one go. So those ones are fine, but I haven't really backed a lot of stuff that's like a brand new game that I don't know if I'll like or not. So I didn't want to back this one because I don't know if it's one I'm going to like or not. I like some Laserders, yes, but Laserder has not given me a lot to go on since Weather Machine. Weather Machine, barely above average, and even then, it's convoluted and weird with that theme. Didn't like Inventions. I think Inventions was one of the lesser games he's ever made. I think it's definitely down there. Not as far down as something like Escape Plan, but it's below average at best. I didn't really get into Inventions. So Speakeasy is supposedly a return to form in terms of theme. Great. But is it any good? I don't know. It still looks like a fairly, it does look a bit cluttered on the board. I mean, there's a lot going on some of these, prototype boards here. But the theme is not one that I'm desperate to get into. I mean, I suppose it's an okay theme, but it's not one that I'm going to go like crazy over. I'm not a big fan of the way it looks. I mean, this may be a prototype board. I'm not entirely sure. But all these browns everywhere and these muted colors, it's not a looker for sure. I don't think it looks that nice on the table. So it's not exactly grabbing me at this point. But is it a good game? Could well be. But I haven't had a chance to play it yet. Demos keep getting filled up quite quick at conventions. I've had to get other games played. And again, you can't buy this in retail. People are only just getting their fulfillment copies now. If you look on Facebook, that's all of them. So the game is supposedly 2025, and yet the only people that are getting it, apart from, some reviewers and stuff like that, is basically December 2025. You might as well call this a 2026 game at this point, because by the time any real decent amount of people are going to play it, it will be 2026. It'll be 2026 before I get a chance to play this one. So I do want to play it, guys, trust me. But Eagle Griffin never gives me review copies for stuff. They've never contacted me. They've never responded to emails. They've just kind of blanked me out. I mean, let's face it. They don't want their £100+ game potentially getting a negative review. So I just never get these games. And occasionally I've been asked to preview them. But again, I don't tend to do previews. I am doing a couple of previews in January for certain people, but I am more picky as to the ones I pick, and I try to minimize how many I preview. Especially with big games like this. A small game to preview isn't too bad, but large games like this, I kind of want it to be finished and robust before I try to absorb a ton of rules that probably will change in the long run. So, I do want to play this, guys, trust me, but it just ain't happened yet. So at some point, hopefully it will. All right. What else we got? Something that I've actually played. All right, here we go. Galactic Cruise. Well, Galactic Cruise, yeah, this one definitely worked for me. I mean, I gave this one a 9 out of 10, I believe. It's not good enough for an 8. It's not good enough for a 10, but it's definitely a solid 9. This one is the surprise, almost Lacerda light game of this. And I don't mean, Lacerda-like game. It's still heavy. Oh God, is it a heavy game? But it feels like a Lacerda game without actually being a Lacerda game. But yeah, I like the theme of this one, putting together little cruises and sending guys out to different destinations. There's a lot of different strategies you can employ. The rules, even though it's a bit of a front-loaded teach, are relatively smooth. I didn't find it too convoluted to get a lot of the rules, although this is a bugbear to teach anyone. When you teach people this, the game will slow down to a crawl. It's produced fantastically. It's a good amount of fun. It certainly gives you that decent heavy feeling that you want from a game like this. All these pieces, good insert and storage system. I haven't bothered with the expansions. I don't think it needs them. But, putting the ships together, deciding whether you're going to put your cogs on the board, grab technologies, make big ships, make small ships, make lots of ships, make only one big ship, the card system, which is probably the weak source in the game. I think those cards are a bit overpowered in some respects, but overall, this is a great game. I really enjoyed Galactic Cruise, so yeah, suffice to say, I think it's pretty safe to say this will be on my top 10 of the year, but I didn't know what it was going to be like. I think I had a demo from Drander Games by the board game Wizard at the time, who obviously now works for Drander, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, it was a very good demo. I liked it then. Got to play the actual game, reviewed it, liked it then. Solo mode could be better. I think the solo mode is a bit too swingy and a bit too random. Like, you might as well just pick an arbitrary point total and see if you can beat it. It's better than having to pilot the solo mode all the way through. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed this one. So this one definitely was one that I was looking forward to, and it met the mark. I'm glad there was at least one game that got released when it was meant to. All right. Okay, let's have a look. Next one. Let's see. Galactic Cruise. Yep, looking for... What's this one? Ah, there we go. Right. Oh, The Elder Scrolls, Betrayal of the Second Era. Not played it. Chip Theory don't send me any stuff. I mean, I was lukewarm on Burn Cycle, didn't like Too Many Bones, didn't really care much for Cloudspire. I just don't really look forward to their games much, so yeah, I don't really get sent their stuff. But it also means I don't play their stuff, because their stuff is ridiculously expensive, and this one was certainly no surprise there. I mean, can you even buy this one in... I'm actually curious. Is it called Betrayal? What the hell is it called again? Betrayal of the Second Era. Betrayal of the... God, so many games called Betrayal. Betrayal is clearly a word that's overused. But yeah. Paul Grogan did a big stream of this recently, actually. I think it took him like 12 hours to get through a solo campaign. That's pretty lengthy. But, he absolutely adores this game to the point where he compares it on a like level to Mage Knight. And if you know what Mage Knight is like to him, that's pretty big praise. He absolutely adores this. I watched some of the playthrough, certainly not all 12 hours, I ain't got that much time in the world. I couldn't understand half the stuff that was going on rules-wise, but I can tell that this is a game I'm not going to like. Sorry. I mean, firstly, I don't care about the Elder Scrolls. Skyrim's Elder Scrolls, wasn't it? I played Skyrim, enjoyed Skyrim, but it's got a lot of problems, got a lot of bugs, and mainly it's a meme at this point. So, it was an enjoyable game, but I still never actually finished it. It just got a bit too, couldn't be asked. But this map, with all these chips, and look, chips are cool, but I think chips are a weird way to do components in the game, because it just makes everything look cluttered. But looking at these maps, looking at your board with all these different dice that you throw and all these different things, it just looks convoluted as all get out. I don't know what this is. It must be prototype or something, but it just looked convoluted. And after watching a bit of, and Too Many Bones and all the others had that same problem. Too many rules. Burn Cycle, way too many rules. Cluttered, convoluted, just nothing about this. This publisher does not know the meaning of the word streamlined. They can't make anything smooth. You have to learn a novel, a War and Peace novel of rules, and even then, that's hoping the rule book will be written well. Don't get me started on the garbage rule book that was Too Many Bones. That was horrific. But hello FAQ moments. But this one, I mean, I don't like the maps. I mean, I can barely tell what this map is. I'm looking right down directly at it, and I can't tell what that is. I can't tell if that's a cave or like a street, market street. Are those market stalls? Is that lava? I don't know. I can't tell. The detail on the map is barely distinguishable. And then it's covered by all these chips, which you can't see over because they're all in giant stacks. It's kind of annoying. But also, as I watched Paul's playthrough, the amount of rules checking. Oh my word. Now, give him a break. He doesn't play this every week, so naturally he had to come back to it and learn the rules again. And I know what it's like to have to learn rules to tons of different games all the time. It's hard. I struggle as well. But man, I would not be able to play this game well enough and often enough to warrant that many rules. It was insane. There's a rule for this. There's a rule if this guy looks at you funny. There's a rule if this guy bends down on a Tuesday. There's a rule if this orc is red and this guy with an archer is brown. There's a rule if somebody steps on a twig within earshot of somebody within 3 shots away. I couldn't understand the rule. I mean, I don't even know if I can't remember. Did he succeed or die in the mission? I can't remember what happened, but who knows whether it was earned or not, because there's so many different rules you can get wrong. He needed everybody on the stream to get through the campaign. Now, maybe if this is your life game, like the one game you're playing every week, then perfect. This will be amazing for you. Then by all means, go and do it. But this is a game that I would not be able to make work. I'd have to learn far too many rules that are like convoluted and all over the place. I would then only be able to play it so often, and every time I come back to it, I would forget most of the game. It is, and I just don't. I don't think poker chips. I like poker chips, but I don't think they work as your be-all or everything here. Yes, you make good play mats. That doesn't mean that the game's fantastic, and I can't even tell what all these maps are. I can't tell anything about these locations, and I wouldn't really get into the theme either, because Elder Scrolls to me is just another generic fantasy theme. There's nothing really about it that stands out for me. So, I mean, hell, it's even got a person called Dark Elf. Like, we haven't seen Dark Elf in a million things. So, yeah, I mean, I've not played it. So, this is literally just me saying why I don't want to play it. Unless somebody wants to invite me on their stream and then I will play it with them, and they teach me it, then maybe. But there's just too much going on here. It's another one of those games that costs an arm and a leg, really, really expensive. It's got too much in it, too much to deal with. It makes it a lifestyle game. I've got to play a lot of different games. I don't have time for these sort of games. It just isn't going to work for me. So I'm not the target audience, which is fine. But suffice to say, I never got a chance to play this, and it's unlikely to ever happen. What else we got? Flow, not going to say much on this. It hasn't even had a retail release this year. I don't think it even got fully released. I had a demo in 2024 Essen. It was one of the worst demos I'd ever come across. The girl barely knew the rules, taught us it in a really garbage way, and, it put me off the game a lot. I don't think the game is likely to win me over as much. I mean, it still says 2025 on here. I guarantee there's not a 2025 game. I mean, there's nothing on it. I mean, the only people talking about it are the same people who basically just love everything. If you get given a game to preview, they will say it's the best thing ever. So I just don't. There's nothing here that I can work with, and it hasn't been fully released. I mean, rank overall 13,000. It means that nobody's had the game to even talk about it. How many ratings has this game even had? It probably hasn't been rated by anybody. Wait, where do I find out how many people have rated it? There's 1,000 fans, but that's not the same as ratings. Do I click on my rating? I can't tell. If I type in Flow and just do that, will it? All right, so Flow. Yeah, 97 people have rated this game. So, sorry, 92. So this game hasn't had a full release. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but that demo was a massive put-off. Pika Games have done some good stuff. I mean, A Wild Venture this year was brilliant. Really good little 2-player game. That was A Wild Venture. And I still like, what's it down there? Sweet Mess. Sweet Mess I still like. I thought that was a good, fun game. So this could be a good, fun game. But it's not been released yet, so I can't really say much more. And this is a problem I've had with the year in general, okay? This year was full of titles that are supposed to be 2025, and they didn't get released. And if they did get released, they were only to a niche group of people who play those sort of games all the time, and therefore say they're the best thing since sliced bread. So you've got your Iridias, you've got your Betrayal of the Second Eras, you've got your Speakeasies, you've got, a few other like big games that just don't get released to the general public. And the only people who get to play them are the ones who backed them in the first place. And of course, how many people who paid £150, £200 for their big project are going to turn around and say it's utter garbage? Think about it. It's just not going to happen. All right. Okay. What do we got next? What do we have next? I'm going far for this video. Let's speed things up. Cyclades. All right. Cyclades, the limited edition. I have played this one. I did play Sick of These, somebody else's copy, and I thought it was fine. It's basically the same game. They've streamlined a few aspects of it. They've kind of tried to merge a bit of the Titans rules within it, so it's probably the best version of the game you're going to get. But I'm still kind of meh on Stickler D's. It is still area control at the end of the day. There is still some balance issues with it. It's, it's an okay game. I've played it, but I wasn't really anticipating it. It's just like, oh, this is another project that exists. Looks the part on the table, but it's Cyclades. Do you like Cyclades or not? Okay, Cyclades. Okay, and then I think I was just going down the list. So Nemesis Retaliation. Not played it. Again, I'm not going to back every single game on Kickstarter, guys. I don't have the money to do that. So, a lot of these games that may be anticipated by people are only if they come out for retail, and a lot of these games haven't. You can't buy Nemesis Retaliation on retail at the moment. I don't know when you ever will be able to. So, do I like Nemesis? It's alright, but man, I've tried the Nemesis games. They can either be one of the best games you've played, or it can be utter garbage. It's far too fragile because it's entirely dependent on what happens. You can play Nemesis, be taught all the rules, and die within 2 turns. Wow, that was worth the build-up, wasn't it? So, it's a stupidly fragile game with a cool theme. Now, Nemesis Retaliation could be a much better version. Lots more aliens, a lot more Marines, we are leaving, pulse rifles and everything like that. This could be a better version for me. But again, it's a big game. It's only available to a niche group of people. It costs an arm and a leg. I would like to play it, but when will I get the chance? The problem with these games, they just, is it me or just board games becoming much more of a clique thing now? Yeah, we want more people to get into board games. So why are these games that are supposedly, brilliant, as some previewers would have you believe, not being released? Why can't we let the general public have access to these? It's insane. So yeah, I'd like to try Nemesis Retaliation, but again, when do you get a chance to play it? I know it sounds like I'm going on a bit of a rant this episode, but I guess that's to be said. Metal Gear Solid, the board game. I don't think this got released, so I'm not going to say much more about it because I didn't really know much about it at the time. Dune Imperium Bloodlines. Did this release this year? I'm not sure it did it? To be honest, I don't really care much about Dune Imperium, and I have not played this, so I don't know if it did get released, and if it did, no one's talked about it. I hadn't heard anybody peep about it. All right. Chaosium. Now, the Orient Express hasn't been released yet. They were demoing at Essen. I didn't get into a demo. I'm looking forward to this one, but again, it could be a lot of rules, and I got to admit, after playing Miskatonic Tales, I have some worries. They from not spoiling the review too much, when it comes to the theme, when it comes to some of the mechanics, and when it comes to the narrative, it's pretty good. It does a pretty good job. When it comes to the rulebook and some of the wording and erratas and FAQs, that's a bit more of an issue. If that sort of thing repeats with Orient Express, it could single-handedly destroy itself from the inside. So it's making me a little bit concerned about Orient Express. No doubt when it comes out, though, I know the people there. They kindly given me a copy of Miskatonic Tales. I'm sure hopefully they'll give me a copy of Orient Express as well. I look forward to giving it a try. I hope it's as good as the concept would have me to believe. But the problems I'm having with Miskatonic Tales, I hope they don't repeat in this one. But this will be effectively a 2026 for me as well. So again, I think this is the problem with Essen being at the end of the year. Essen really should be in the middle of the year or at the start of the year. I think it would make more sense. Okay, what have we got? So that's Orient Express. World Order. Haven't had a chance to play it more. Again, hasn't been released yet. It's not 2025 because it hasn't fulfilled yet. So, my opinion from before has not changed. I'll play it when it fully releases, although I've got to admit, the announcement of the extra expansion to Hegemony, I am very excited about that. Yes, I don't know how you're going to incorporate it with the current system and not potentially break it, but you did a good job on Hegemony, so I'm going to have faith on this one. But man, I can't wait to see what the new stuff for Hegemony is going to be. That's going to be amazing. World Order, we'll see. I can't really say much more on it. It's not fully out yet. maybe games should actually start trying to meet their deadlines. The Lord of the Rings trick-taking game. I have played this one, actually. This one is, let's see, can I get it on here? Lord of the Rings Trick. God, yeah, stupidly long title. I have played this one. It's fine. I don't think it's amazing. It's a co-op trick taker. You fulfill a bunch of conditions on the characters that you select, and you work together to do that. So you're kind of playing the crew, but not entirely playing the crew. The solo mode just feels like you're meeting a few conditions by playing cards in a certain way. So I don't think a game like this warrants a solo mode. I played it and it's enjoyable. I don't like the artwork. It's really not my style. The theme really doesn't mean anything at all. So the theme is just basically a paste on. It's fine. You know, I liked it okay, but I'd rather just play the crew, honestly. I think the crew is overall a better game. And it came first. So, Alright, what else we got? Dragon Eclipse. I don't think that released this year. I don't think that's even in remote wide distributions, and I don't know really much about it. Star Trek Captain's Chair. I did do a review of this one. Yes, go check out my review for Star Trek Captain's Chair. I liked it, but it was a bit convoluted with some of its rules, definitely, but then so was Imperium, so it seems impossible to make this style of game and make it streamlined. The Star Trek theme was kind of a bit lost on me because there are some Star Trek properties I love, Next Generation and Voyager, and I must admit I have, during this year, watched Deep Space Nine, and overall I did enjoy it. It took a while to get going. Aside from a couple of choice episodes like Duet, which still is probably one of the best episodes in Deep Space Nine, and I'm sure a lot of fans of Deep Space Nine are going to agree with me on that one, but yeah, apart from a couple of choice episodes, the first 2 and 3 seasons are a bit meh, like whatever. It really did pipe up a bit more when the Dominion started entering the fray, and then it really worked when the war started. When the war started, and you had the kind of a different layout where, like, oh, the enemy's kind of won, and now you have to fight back against the resistance, almost a bit like the old Sonic the Hedgehog Sat AM show, where the series has Robotnik's already won and the rest are freedom fighters. This kind of felt a bit like that, where it seems like the Dominion's kind of, for the most part, won, and you've got to fight back against it. At that point, Deep Space Nine really switched on for me, and became really, really good. But overall, I was glad I watched it. But yeah, I would probably skip a lot of the few seasons. And God, for crying out loud, if I see one more story talk about profits or orbs, I will go spare. That was an annoying plot thread to have to deal with. But, you know, there was still a lot of decent stuff there. And I'm not a big fan of Sisko as a captain. I don't think he's really a captain for me. Compared to Picard and Janeway, it's just not going to happen. But I did like some of the supporting characters a lot. Jaxia, or whatever her name was, what do you call it? The host. I forget what the species called, but yeah, the one who hosted that. I thought she did a good job. But the MVP definitely has to go to. God, what the hell's this guy's name? Oh my god, I gotta look this up. Oh, this is embarrassing. What the Deep Space characters? How could I forget his name? Deep Space Nine characters. I am so bad at Odo. That's it, Odo. Yes, yeah, that's it. When Worf came into the fray, the series really switched on for me. I mean, he's Next Generation, he's brilliant, so why wouldn't it switch on? But Odo, Jadzia, and not Kira, no, not Julian. Dukat I really liked as a villain. I thought he was really cool. I hate everything about the Ferengi. I'm sorry, Quark is annoying. You know, he gets away with pretty much everything, and I don't get why. But what's the other guy's name? Oh yeah, Tuvok was in it briefly. Where's the guy's name? He's one of the Cardassians in here. How can I not find his name? The one who's the tailor. It's like the tailor guy, or say. He was a bit like, hang on, is this guy really Deep Space Nine. I am sorry, guys. I've gone a bit off tangent here. And if you are a Deep Space Nine fan and you're having a go at me for not remembering these characters' names, then I do apologize. But Elam Garrick. That was it, Garrick. Yeah, so Garrick and Odo, God, they stole the show, like, compared to some of the other characters. You know, their arcs were really good and they were just great to watch on screen. But Odo, MVP. I thought he was fantastic. He's definitely up there in my top 5 favorite Star Trek characters. So yeah, I was glad to watch it. But anyway, back to the point. I was talking about Captain's Chair. I think I was anyway. Captain's Chair is a decent game, but some of the decks where it's on people that I don't really care about in Star Trek, kind of didn't they didn't work to me as they didn't work for me as much. The the mechanics of it were a little bit like hit and miss. So I liked it, but not enough to keep it. I decided to keep Imperium instead. But it was still decent. I was glad to play it, and I would happily play it again if somebody wanted a two-player against me, but it's not one that I wanted to keep. I didn't see the point in owning both. It felt like the same kind of system, but just one system I think worked better than the other, or the variety and the theme worked better in certain aspects. So, if you play Imperium, you get the civilizations from the cards you're playing. If you play Star Trek Captain's Chair, you have to be a Trekkie geek in order to understand half the references, because a lot of them just went over my head. But overall, still decent. Just not amazing. Okay, where else we got? Night Shift. I ain't going to say anything more about that. Not played it, not seen it. Who the hell really cares? Who cares about that game? Revenant hasn't been released yet. I don't think it will be too long before it gets released, though. So maybe this will be an early 2026 release. Love the demo. I hope the game's as good as the demo was. Going on forward. Cool, I talked about that one a lot. Nature was fine. It's basically the best version of the Evolution Climate games, but you have to buy it piecemeal. I'm not sure if that selling mechanism works. Does look the part. It's been made to a budget to be eco-friendly. It's very simple, very family weight. Check out my review of it, because I reviewed it and a bunch of little expansions. It's fine, just nothing amazing. It's not something I would want to have a massive big box version on my shelf, but it's pleasant and it's nice. But that's about as much as I can really sort of big it up in that sense. Luthier, I did a full review of this one, Luthier. This one, I like it, but it did have some issues. You can get messed over in this game without anybody even trying to mess you over. And if you get messed over, you can't really recover or do anything about it, because you have to plan out the whole round practically in advance. And then somebody screws you over, and then you are royally screwed. But it looks the part, it's a cool theme, and it does have some cool mechanics in it. But there's not a lot of ways that you can vary your path to victory. You are kind of doing the same stuff each game. You can get messed over a lot. It does take too long for what it is, I think. I think the game just dragged on a bit. The solo mode was particularly hard and very cheaty as well, so it had some issues. But overall, I did enjoy it. I was glad to finally play this one. It just didn't, completely bowl me over. It did a good job. But you're going to have to check out my review for a lot more detail on it, because there was a lot to say for sure. But yeah, a decent game. And at least it actually released during the year and you can get it on retail. Go figure. All right, so well done on that. Okay. Any more? Stone Saga. Publisher has contacted me about making me do a review of this one, because they're starting to fulfill it now. So maybe that will be a 2026 thing. I don't know much more about it. The rulebook is 100 pages. That does have me a bit worried, but we'll see how easy it is to jump into an intro game. Anything else left on this? Avalon hasn't been released yet. Baghdad, I did a review of that, so by all means check it out. Deep Regrets is absolutely terrible. I talked about it on one podcast episode. That is a 1 out of 10 for me. And Valheim, this will be the last one I mentioned. Valheim, I wanted to sing the praises of Valheim this year, but I haven't got it. They were showing it off at Essen. I was in a demo of it, and I enjoyed the demo fine, but I wanted to take the game away there and actually review it properly. But even though they had copies there, they said, now we'll send you one after. That was back in October. It's now nearly Christmas, and I haven't seen a peep. So I don't know when I'm going to get sent this. I hope I'll get sent it soon, but I don't think I'll even get sent this before I do my top 10 of 25 at this rate. It might not be until January 26 when I get it. And if that's the case, then Valheim loses its chance to appear on my 2025 list. Now, that being said, I didn't do one for 24 for a retrospective list. And the reason I didn't do a retrospective 24 list is because when I looked over the list and then looked at the other games and said how much will the list change, it was practically identical. So it wasn't much point putting the video out because the list didn't really change. I think 2025 would change quite substantially for what now and what will come out later and what other games I'll try. So I can see myself doing a retrospective 25 list. And if that's the case, Valheim might just have to wait to go on that, if it's good enough to make the list, that is. But at this rate, it won't even get a chance to be considered for the top 10 of 25 because I haven't played a full game of it. But I want to. I want to, please. Please send me the review copy. But yeah, just haven't had a chance to give it the beans. But hopefully a full game of it is really good. You know, I look forward to giving it a spin. But when that's going to happen, that's down to the publisher. So, you know, hopefully early 2026, I'll be able to do something like that. All right. Oh, an hour and a 5. I think that's it for now. So that's looking back at games that I was looking forward to in 2025. As you can see, a lot of them barely didn't even get released. A lot of them didn't necessarily make the mark. A couple of them did. But yeah, you know, this is another reason why anticipating games is a problem, because you just set yourself up for disappointment a lot. And a lot of times you go, oh, this game's going to be amazing, and it's not. And, you know, it's not often that a game you highly anticipate will blow your mind. It feels like it's very much more skewed the other way. So I much prefer to just take the game when it's released and go, right, hoping it's good, but not going to get too excited for it. And then it also means that you can come into it with a bit more of an open mind, because as soon as you waltz into something going, this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread, because you either have been hyping it up for ages. This is the problem with preview content these days. It really is just a hype train and nothing else, you know, an advert. But also when you put a ton of money into a Kickstarter to get the game, your opinion is in danger of being skewed because of the hype train and the fact you've sunk a ton of money into it. So I try not to go down either of those two routes when I'm looking at games, but it does mean I'm usually late to the party in playing some of the ones that only get released on Kickstarter, only fulfill at the end of the year, and then never see retail distribution for ages. Hence, I have to do the retrospective list of the previous year, because in doing so, that means I've hopefully played some of those games at that point. But it's just the way it is these days. It is Kickstarter, it is GameFound, it is giant games, you know, and it's like retail is a secondary concern, it seems, for a lot of these. There's just been too many delays, and granted, I mean, we've had stuff happening with American logistics and you know, Trump and worldwide postage and rates going up and all this stuff and tariffs and things, which have caused ripples within the industry like crazy. It's been quite manic. So it's not like I'm blaming the publishers for a lot of these delays. There are reasons for delays, but the fact is, a lot of stuff has got delayed, so it's difficult to talk about them, really. Anyway, I better sign off there. So hopefully that was enjoyable to listen to me rant a bit on some of those. But until mid-January, when I do another episode of the Broken Meeple Show, just enjoy the reviews that I put out until Christmas, and then I look forward to seeing a bunch of you in 2026. So take care, enjoy your holidays, Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you for helping me keep this channel going for the last year, and hopefully we have things to look forward to in 2026. So take care, and remember, it's only a game. Merry Christmas, and have a happy new year. Bye for now.